the place where the day never ends. Can you imagine living in a place where the day never ends? You'd have 24 hours of sunshine, plenty of time to work, meet friends, work out, do chores and literally anything else you can think of. But there's a flip side to it. Most of us are used to days with 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night time. But at some point we've all wished for a few more hours to do everything we need to do. In the northernmost parts of the world, life is very different. Daytime can last for 3 to 6 months in a year, that's like 180 days of continuous sunshine. Imagine this: you'd wake up one morning and the sun would rise as usual, you'd go about your day. The sun would hover overhead and just when you think it's setting, sun would move along the horizon and rise back up again. It would literally be 1 a.m. at night, but it would look like 1 p.m. in the afternoon. They call it the midnight sun. It takes place in the summer months and it can be the most confusing experience for tourists and people who've come to live there for the first time. We know the Earth doesn't stand straight, it's actually tilted 23.5 degrees on its axis, and as it rotates we experience day and night through the year. It also moves around the sun on an orbit. During the part of the year when the Earth is far away from the sun, countries in the northern hemisphere like the US, UK, all of Europe and Asia experience summer. And at the same time, countries in the southern hemisphere like Australia, New Zealand and parts of Africa experience winter. But because the Earth is tilted, the places that are closest to the Arctic Circle experience 24 hours of daylight for months on end. So what are the places that get to enjoy these endless summer days? For starters, the northern parts of Russia is one of them. In places like Murmansk, the sun never disappears over the horizon from the end of May to the end of July. Summer in Finland is spectacular. Helsinki in the south sees the sun nearly round the clock during June and July with just a few hours of moderate darkness. It's a similar story in the south of Sweden, between the end of May and mid-July, but if you travel north of the Arctic Circle to Lapland in Sweden or Finland, the sun doesn't set at all from May till August. In Iceland, the midnight sun is called the polar day. The nights get brighter from May, and in June, you literally never experience any darkness. Most of Norway sees 76 days of midnight sun between May and July. But the island of Svalbard in the far north sees daylight from mid-April till the end of August. Meanwhile, in the West Alaska, the midnight sun stays for 4 months from April to August. Canada's Yukon and Nunavut experiences 24 hours of daylight between June to September, and it's an amazing time of year to visit these places and experience this natural phenomenon. If you're wondering what life is like with endless summer days, well, let's just say it gives people plenty of time to do a lot of fun outdoorsy things. There are a lot of summer markets and music festivals, possibilities are endless. But it's not all fun and games. Getting proper sleep is important, especially if you work a 9-to-5 job, and unless you learn to regulate your sleeping patterns, life can get very difficult. From September onwards, things start to change. The Earth moves closer to the sun, the southern hemisphere experiences summer and the northern hemisphere now has winter. The days get shorter and the sun barely rises above the horizon, and eventually the endless days of sunshine turns to almost complete darkness. It's called the polar night, and it can last for 1 to 4 months in a year. A polar night largely depends on how far north you are. Some places experience moderate darkness where the sky remains inky blue, while others can get pitch black. In Iceland, winter days are mostly dark with the exception of 4 to 5 hours of moderate sunlight. In Finland and Sweden's Northern Territory, the long nights last for nearly 2 months, and in villages like Utsjoki, the time between sunrise and sunset is just 48 minutes. It looks absolutely beautiful with white snow covering everything, and it's a time that Santa Claus's village comes alive in Lapland. Polar night season in Norway begins at the end of November and continues till mid-January. Places like Tromsø that are surrounded by high mountains see a subtle twilight from 9 AM to 2 PM. But in Svalbard the sun stays at least 6 degrees below the horizon, meaning the darkness is around the clock for 2.5 months.